thing. Good idea to keep that updated so you don't lose important things. Right, we've got our apple falling, bouncing quite nicely. We need something to catch it in. And in our actors folder, we've got a catcher. So I'm just going to drag that up into the hierarchy. It has not appeared, and the reason being, you're right, it's on the wrong sorting layer. So I'll put it onto the action. Okay, and there it appears. I'm just going to move it down into the ground level here. Okay. Now it's a bit of a weedy basket, so a bit like the apple, I'm going to scale it up a bit. So here we've got the transform. Before I do that, I'm going to change its name. So just click on it and rename it basket. Much easier to deal with then. Okay, so scaling up, I'm going to use 1.8 again. I think that's about right. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Just move it up slightly. Okay. That looks fine. Now, one of the problems might be if the apple falls, it might appear in front of the basket because they're both on the action sorting layer. Okay. One solution for this could be to create another sorting layer for the basket, separate from the apple, but we don't want too many sorting layers. So we've got this other option, having the order in the layer. Now, the apple came out as 0, this is 0, so if we increase that to 1, it ensures that the apple falls behind the basket, and we can test if that works by testing the game. So there we go, and the apple falls behind the basket. Ideal, that's great. Okay, now this basket is going to be moved using the keyboard. I'm going to be using the left and the right arrow keys. You might prefer to use the ASWD option, so A and D to move it side to side. So there are a couple of things we need to sort out first of all. One is that which editor we're going to use for coding. Now if you go to the edit menu and look at preferences, you've got an external tools option. Now you can use whatever editor you like, so you can browse for a different editor if you wish. It automatically has Visual Studio in there, and we've got MonoDevelop, which is shipped with Unity. I'm going to be using MonoDevelop, so if you want your coding windows to look like mine, use MonoDevelop. If you prefer to use another one, that's fine. Let's close that. Now, Unity also comes with an input manager, which is very handy, and we can have a look at that. So if we go to the edit, and we've got project settings, and then on the sub menu we've got input. Right, and that appears in the inspector. One thing, we've got axes. Now there are two axes that we're concerned with here, horizontal and vertical. Now remember that horizontal is the x-axis and the vertical is the y-axis, or if we're using a 3D game, it's going to be the forward and backward axis. If we have a look at the horizontal axis, then the details are that using the negative button, which is the left cursor, now negative in the horizontal sense means to the left, positive is to the right. Right, we have an alternative negative button, which is the A key, and an alternative positive button, which is the D key. Right, we also have some different things that we can sort out, but I won't bother with those at the moment. Okay, but the important thing to remember is that it's set up to recognize the left key and the right key, or alternatively the A key and the D key, to interpret the input. Now this means if we're pressing the left key, it's going to return -1. That's the input, it's going to return -1. If we're pressing the right key, or D, it's going to return +1. If we're not pressing any of these keys, it's going to return 0. Okay, so the input manager is a very helpful thing. Right, we're going to start coding. So what we need to do is add a piece of code to the basket. So again, add component, and right down at the bottom here we've got new script. It's useful to have a meaningful name, otherwise we would say, well, what does this script do? So I'm going to call this move basket. It's not a good idea to have spaces in the name of a piece of code. Right, so move basket, create and add that. And there it appears in the inspector attached to this basket object. And if we look in the assets folder, right, there's move basket. We want to keep this nice and neat, and we've got a scripts folder, so I'm going to move that into the scripts folder. I can move it down here, I can move it up there or down here, okay, as long as you've got that blue rounded rectangle. And there it is inside the scripts. Now I'm going to devote a whole session on scripting this movement, so I'm going to save that. And see you next time.